I think the definition of greatness is to inspire the people next to you. It's not something that lives and dies with one person. It's how can you inspire a person to then in turn inspire another person that then inspires another person. And that's how you create something that I think lasts forever. And I think that's our challenge as people, is to figure out how our story can impact others and motivate them in a way to create their own greatness.
Welcome to the Welcome to the 3 on 3 podcast. That's right. You're tuned in to the number one basketball podcast in the universe. I'm joined with my guys, my friends, my compadres, my amigos. I got Evan here, Lou, and we have the Pod Mamba in the scenes, in the background, producing us to excellence because we will continue to be that number one podcast. We have a great show in store for you today. The lineup is going to be NBA Finals. We're in the thick of things. We're about to get into it, so we'll dive into that. Then we're going to talk about some numbers. What's going on with the NBA, man? Are people tuning in? Are they not tuning in? What's happening? What's the reason for this? And last but not least, we're going to talk about some quasi trade rumors. We know it's early, but we still got to discuss them. Some of them may or may not have legs. But guys, let's jump into these NBA Finals. As we're presently recording, series is tied 1-1. The Indiana Pacers stole one, man, in Halliburton fashion, as he's been doing all playoff long. Just a thief, boy, just stealing these games, breaking hearts, becoming a meme, becoming a legend. The Halliburton legend continues. He stole one, but the OKC Thunder regrouped, came back, and if I'm not mistaken, they were in command the whole. Like there were no back and forth really after the
Nah,
first quarter. After the
nah.
first quarter, there wasn't any back and forth. OKC was in the lead and control for really the most of the game after the first quarter, and now the series is tied 1-1, going back to Indiana. First and foremost, guys, fellas, is it going to be a series moving forward? Because one
What
would
the hell?
say, one would
What
say,
the Halliburton?
one would say Indiana did their job, right? When you're the team that doesn't have home court advantage, you get the split, right? It's really, you know, a little greedy to assume you're gonna get both games. The goal, strategically speaking, is to always get the split if you're the team that doesn't have home court advantage, so you can make it a series, right? So it won't be a sweep. You get a little momentum going your way, so they have to win one on your court potentially. Like, is this a series or was OKC playing with their food the last, what was that run? 2 minutes, 2 to 7 minutes
Yep.
of that fourth quarter. Anybody can go. I know I didn't say a name. I'll let anybody hit this first one.
Man, look, I'll say it like this. It's the NBA, right? So you have the finals. You would say that this is the culmination of the two best teams, in which we'll see the battle of the gladiators, and that's what the finals, which you would expect for finals to be, and it being 1-1 would be something that says that is representative of that. But no, it is not a series. No, I think OKC let one slip, and I just think that what it is it, Indiana has had an amazing coach in Rick Carlisle, and he's been able to in the last moments of the game really be able to scheme and use his players to the best of their advantage. And you know what? In Halliburton, you got to give him credit. He's not scared of the big lights, and now it's not once or twice he's done it. He wants that moment, so you know the ball is going to go to his hand, and based on the confidence he has right now coming into this, uh, you know he's going to step right into it, and he's executed. So it's been great, but I think okay, this was more of OKC losing the game than Indiana really winning. So I'm expecting that OKC will continue to decisively win throughout these next couple games. We might get a close one in Indiana just because they're in Indiana, but I don't see this series going past five.
I think that first celebration he did with the grabbing of balls, I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that
yeah,
was
yeah.
apropos because I do agree with you. As much as I'm not a fan of Halliburton, he doesn't shy away from the moment at all. He wants to shoot the big shot. He wants to take it, and he's willing to live and die by it. And take the shot. So I'll give him credit on that. Since I am the resident Halliburton hater here, I will give him credit on that. But I will say this, Ev, and before you go on to your points, I do have a question for you, and Lou, you can chime in on this. Like, what is it though? What is it about? Is it coaching? Is it just coaching, like Lou said? What is it about these Indiana Pacers that they're able to steal games like this? They have literally done this in every series that they've played this
Mhm,
far. They've stolen a game, and by steal, I mean a game that they were not supposed to win. They were
mhm.
not in control of, not by score, not by momentum. And the last 7 to 5 minutes, they just do something miraculously. What is it about this team that they just happen to do this every series, one game without fail?
I think it's a combination of two things, and one of them being what you just stated is momentum. I think that this is a team that thrives off of momentum. They're a momentum based offense. They try to trick you with momentum based execution, stealing those extra possessions off the inbounds. Their defense, which has been top 8 since the first of the year, turning into transition buckets. So their offense is at its best. Their culture is at its best when it's in that momentum based, transition based flow. When they don't have you off balance, they can't execute the same way or nor with the same level of confidence. But when they're able to turn into a momentum type attack, right? That's when they get humming on all cylinders. And because their offense is so egalitarian, it's not just one focal point that's doing the scoring. It allows you to get off balance where everybody can contribute when they're having these runs that they're having, and you don't know exactly who it's coming from. Now, I will say to your original question of is this still a series? Although I'm somewhat in agreement with everybody that, I think I picked OKC to win this series in 5. I would argue that this game on Wednesday, game 3, is the biggest game in Oklahoma City history. And the reason I say
Wow.
that,
Okay.
here's why I say
Okay.
that. So, they won game 1 in the NBA Finals in 2012, and then the Heat won the last 4, right?
Hmm.
And the Heat were expected to win with the roster that they had. It was a young OKC team that was a little ahead of schedule. Even though they had KD, they had Russ. We know who they had, right? James Harden,
Hmm.
etc. But they were a little ahead of schedule. This is an OKC team that has answered pretty much all the questions this year of could their youth stand up to the pressures that they faced,
Right.
right? They've checked all the boxes. However, this is the biggest test that they're going to have this season. Game 3 is really for the NBA Finals.
Mm.
We don't want to give Indiana any credit. I get it. But like you said, they got the game won.
Yeah,
They
they
got the
did.
game they needed to have.
100%.
Yeah, that's
You're,
true.
you're going into Indiana in a Lions Den, rabid crowd. Team still has belief because they're coming back up 1-1. OKC, they've heard all the young stuff, right? They've answered all the questions for that. But this is the one that you're finally now, no matter what, you're expected to win. Are they going to rise to the challenge of this occasion in Indiana and not let Indiana take control of this series, a series that they're supposed to win and expected to win? I think this is the biggest game in OKC history because the finals is on the line.
Well,
Mm.
interesting you say that because then, to swing it back to Indiana, and part of like why this has some semblance of a series or could be, it looks like that, just because Indiana has the luxury of being the underdog from their star player from the team itself. They weren't
Mm.
expected to be here, so there's a level of carefreeness that they get to play with. doing this. And then when you get to have that and you feel good about the momentum you have coming home, with it being tied, you feel like you're already up, right? So you're coming home and you're looking to play off what you've been mentioning with this momentum play that they have, and then the coach being able to capture that, right? Capture that lightning in the bottle when they have these moments where they're able to do that. And so it's going to be interesting because I would like to see how Indiana comes out here. If they come out super confident and like, hey, we deserve to be here, we're supposed to win against these guys, or just, our guys, let's go ball out, and just let's play free because they counted us out. So let's go show them, and play for themselves. So yeah, I'm really curious to see how what this series pans out for in terms of both teams, and also what we talk about with the, the star power of somebody like Halliburton, right? And Shea, because I mean this is a little bit off from what we're
All right,
talking about,
Lou.
but
He has star power now. Jeez. Go ahead. Go
that's
ahead.
my thing now. Because the question is he a star for real, right? Is he really it can be mentioned as a superstar? I don't think that he'll ever be in the conversation of face of the league, right? But you have two guys that we obviously Shea Gilly's a star, he's MVP. You know what I mean? But they're not quick to give him face to the league, right? They're still looking to it should have been Ant, should have been some of these other guys. Um, but he's the one doing it. So I think this series is going to tell us a lot about both teams, and also what comes out of it with the star power, quote unquote, for each of their lead guys.
Well, I'll say this. First, I'll start off with Evan's point. I do believe Game 3 is going to be a huge game, and I think it's for both teams, right? I think it's big for OKC for all the reasons you stated, right? Is this going to be the last check mark that they finally check and get the momentum on this series? Because if they win this, they're in control. It's unlikely you're going to beat OKC that many times in a row, right? But also, to Indiana's credit, this game's important. Like Lou said, you're the underdog, but yet if you don't win this game, it's a possibility it's no longer a series, right? Like
Oh yeah,
you
not even
have
regular
to,
season.
yeah, like you have to
You
win
talking this
this
one?
game to
Yeah,
make it a series. Because if you
you will
don't win
not
this
make it
game,
back home.
yeah, you may not,
You
you
will
may not
not.
make it back.
You
So
not making
just
it back.
start
Yeah.
packing for Cancun or wherever you
Hmm.
want to go. Like
Hmm.
I think so. I don't know. I agree with Lou. Like there is some carefreeness that they're gonna play, but Lou is giving credit to Rick Carlisle, like the coach. I think he's gonna put it in their like they're in the front of their brain, like, hey, this is an important game. We have
Hmm.
to take care of business here and set the
Yeah.
tone. So I think
Yeah.
he's really gonna get his guys ready. And I believe this may be a close game going, they may trade blows back and forth. It'll
Hmm.
be a closer game than even the first two were. It'll be a more exciting game I anticipated being. But I'll say this too to the superstar. Like, come on, y'all. We gotta stop. As much as I'm a hater, I'm a hater. I will put it out there. I'm a Halliburton hater. But to call this man a superstar, what
He's not a
accolades?
superstar.
Don't
He's
you
not a
have to
superstar.
win an accolade? What accolade?
He's clutch. I'm sorry. No, that was Brunson.
That Brunson won
Clutch.
that accolade.
Clutch player.
Still is, but
Right. So like
Still
what are
is,
we
huh?
doing, guys? Like, are we just throwing out these titles? Like, he is not a superstar yet. If anything, he's having a great run like Pascal Siakam did back in
Hmm.
Toronto. Okay.
Hmm.
He's
Hmm.
having a Pascal Siakam. I'm not, but he's having a great run right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's put it back to back, right? Let's get some awards here. Let's,
Yeah.
win something,
Hmm.
win some award, be the top of the league in something, head and shoulders above your, what I'm saying? Is he the head and shoulders
Your
best point guard?
counterparts.
Yeah, your
Yeah.
counterparts like superstar. Come on,
Nah.
guys.
well,
Come on, man.
I
He's
would say
not
that
dominating anything. What is he dominating?
Clutchness.
Yeah, right. Clutchness in these playoffs. And you know what? I'll say this. I'll acquiesce to this. 2025 right now, he's a superstar for this window right now. till
Just
June.
whenever.
When are the finals end? When's the last day? June,
I know.
whenever the last day of the finals.
That's when
He's
it
a
runs out.
superstar until
His
then.
stardom runs out. Yo, so
Yeah.
it's like he's having a Cinderella stuff moment right now, huh?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The glass
When
slipper is
that
gonna
clock strikes
turn.
12,
Yes.
that
It's gonna
carriage
turn
turned
to
back
an
into a
UGG.
pumpkin.
Yes. All right. Or moccasin. What they wear in Indiana?
Moccasin. Yo,
Wow.
Where?
hey,
Okay.
yo, relax. She said moccasin. What's up with you?
Crocs. It's gonna turn into a croc. Okay. Come on, man.
Well,
I'm just
what I
saying,
say
bro.
is, it's okay if he's not a superstar. I think star level is fine from the standpoint of you need as many stars as possible to have a healthy league, right? Like, would you say Reggie Miller was a superstar? Would you say Gary Payton was a superstar? Would you say, pick your, maybe not top of the marquee, but player that was able to carry a team on his back for a period of time, right? You need players like that to keep it interesting in the league.
Like, hold you. Reggie and GP were definitely bigger than me.
I'm
We're
not
talking about
saying.
top 75.
Well, I'm not saying from the standpoint of Halliburton's young, right? And
Mhm.
so he is in the midst of a run where if he's able to be the culture setter and the floor raiser for a mid-market team for a long stretch of time, right? One that is in a thorn of the size of particular big market teams, right? Or multiple teams that he's in the way of, whether he's a superstar or not. That's a great story for the league. It adds that extra bit of compellingness to what can become a stale story if we're only dealing with the same handful of teams. So
Yeah.
the fact that they've crashed the party now really for 2 years in a row, and their posture to continue doing so in the East, it's like, okay, yeah, we don't want to give them that accolade and give them those props now. But if they're in the midst of a 3 to 5 year run where they keep doing this, it's almost like they're going to antagonize us into giving them props reluctantly.
Well, I'm curious as to how long they'll be able to do that. Because, when contract time comes around and then, some of these pieces start looking attractive to other teams,
Yeah, but
what
I'm
does that then do?
also, once again, me being a hater, there was this guy, I don't know his name, I'd give him credit, but he basically said the Pacers had the easiest run to the finals in a long time.
Since the
Because
Celtics last year, I mean, what are we saying?
since the Celtics last year, Ev,
Everybody was hurt in the East last year.
Well,
true, but
Everybody.
but the Celtics
and
were still a pretty good team, though.
and
They didn't even get the
much
best team in the
chagrin,
West last year.
I feel you.
That's true. They didn't get the best
Yeah,
team in the West last
And
year.
B was
yeah.
hurt.
No,
Giannis
you're
was
right.
hurt. Jimmy Butler was
It was
hurt.
hurt. Yeah.
The whole Knicks were hurt. Donovan Mitchell was hurt. Halliburton was on one leg in the finals.
Might
Like,
be on one leg now.
now one
But
thing, you can't be a superstar if you always hurt. I give that.
well, I mean, anyway, there you go. That's a rabbit hole we don't need to go down. But what I will say is that, and I hate to give him credit, but Draymond said this in his podcast, right? At the end of the day, it's part of the game, right? Everybody's gonna make it to some
Yeah.
point because there were injuries here, injuries there, on suspension here, suspension. That's just the game. You know what I mean? And then part of it is if your run is that your run, man, it's still your job to go win games, no matter what
So
happens.
that's why I say this, right? I say that because we talk about can they do this for years? My thing is, my response to that is if the league and their opponents continue to be hobbled, yes. That's my response to that. So just like when Golden State started their run, right? A lot of naysayers were saying, well, they had an easy path, right? Chris Paul broke his hand, or Zaza Pachulia undercut Kawhi with the ankle, things of that nature. And then Golden State started to prove like, no, 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 we're actually really good and we can beat healthy teams, right? So do we think, before we move on to the OKC side of things, do we think that's what we're saying about? Is that what you're saying about Indiana, and that like they're really that good that they're gonna do this if everybody was healthy? Or are we saying, yeah, they're good, but if some teams were healthy, I don't think they'd be here?
Nah, if everybody healthy, they're cooked.
See, I
They're cooked.
don't agree. I think
I think they make it to the second round if everybody's healthy.
But as I'm saying, if everybody's healthy, you have to play these healthy teams back to back to back. That's much different. That's much different. That's a different grind that you got to go through, man. So I can't agree that they necessarily wouldn't make it through um all of the rounds. We're against going against these healthy teams. Healthy Knicks,
yeah,
healthy.
that's I mean, come on.
Yeah.
They were what, the fourth, fifth best team in the East. So I mean, clearly, I mean, we did not expect them to beat Cleveland, much less beat them the way that they did. We didn't expect them to beat the Knicks. So I mean, I don't think we're going far in saying that no, we wouldn't expect them to make the finals. What I'm saying is that in a span of 2 years, they have risen their floor legitimately to where I think they're legitimately outside of the play-in window now for
Oh,
years to
100%.
come with the roster
No,
that
no.
they put together.
You're
Yeah.
Fighting
100% right.
fighting for that top 4 spot in the East, right?
No,
Within
no,
the top
Yeah.
4
they're
for the
not. They're
next 3
no
to 5
longer. Yeah,
years.
no. You're
Yeah.
100%
Yeah.
right. You're
Yep.
100% right. I can't even argue with that. They're 100% right. Before we move to OKC, what does Indiana need to do, real quick, X's and O's wise, to win this game 3?
Not turn the ball over
19 times in the
19 times,
first half.
which is
Jeez.
crazy. That's the one that came back in, but yeah, not
Yeah, it
not
only led to 9
yeah,
points, so
right.
not bad.
But that's I mean that's OKC's, that's how they eat you alive right there. Turnovers.
Hmm.
Indiana, when they win the turnover battle, when they win the points off turnover battle, that's again, that's their game plan of stealing those easy buckets, right? That's how they get the games in the 130s and the 140s, points off turnover and transition. OKC bleeds the life out of you in both of those areas. So they have to get to that level. And then also, they're gonna just let Shea cook. They're gonna put the onus on other players. How do they want to play this? It'll be interesting to see which path they choose in OKC from the standpoint of, hey, do we come out? Do we put a lot of hard doubles on Shea, to try to make the rest of the team perform well enough to win on the road, or do they trust? Hey, listen, Neesmith, you got to stay with him one on one, and we stay at home with the rest of our, defensively. It'd be interesting to see the adjustment that Carlisle makes for these games when they're at home versus what they've done in OKC.
Yeah, I was actually going to say that would be my strategy is Shea's not going to beat us. Everybody else has to. Especially given that both Shet and J Dub had a lackluster game 1 performance. Of course,
Yeah.
they came back in game 2 and showed up, but yeah, and still, I think that has to kind of be it. Shea needs to see some hard doubles. Needs to be difficult on him. They need to, I hate to say it, give him kind of like the Steph Curry treatment when they were banging him up, and really make him feel every screen, body to body. The Pacers have proven that they go deep in their bench, right? So they have the bodies, they have the fouls.
Yep.
So for me, man, I'm getting that ball out of his hand every single time, similar to what they did to Ant on the West Coast. So they doubled him the whole time. Get the ball out of his hand. Julius has to beat us. Daniels has to beat us. Like somebody except for you. That would be my strategy on the Pacers.
Speaking of strategy, this is where, if you're Rick Carlisle, you really have to lean on that championship experience to give your
Yep.
team the confidence to say, look, I've been here, I've done that. Trust in one another to get to the next level where we're trying to get to. Because again, nobody's picking you, right? And I mean, this is a
Mm.
team that has overachieved to get here, right? But what's that final bit of seasoning to squeeze out any doubt that they may have, to get them to run through the wall for these series? I'm sure
Hmm.
I'm sure Carlisle's pulling out all the tricks psychologically to get his team ready for this game 3.
Got you. Let's move on to the OKC side of things real quick, fellas. So if you're OKC, you're going into Indy. How are you feeling right now? I know, you know, you, you'd love to come in 2-0, but it's 1-1. How are you feeling right now? Is pressure
Man, I
still
think
on you?
I think he's setting the tone for his team. Like why he just said, "Hey, man, I'd trade the points for the win." Right. So that you let one get away. You have a decisive game two, as you know you should. You come into game three again. You're going to impose your will, or trying to impose your will on Indiana, right? Blocking out any of the noise of coming in on their home floor, all the hype, all this and that. They're not getting caught up in the emotion, and just do what you've been doing all year, and that's just been playing great basketball. Things that they start to get away from. I mean, don't settle for the perimeter shots. Keep killing them in the paint like you have. Stick to your defensive assignments like you have. Chet has to be more involved, right? However, Hartenstein needs to be more present, right? You need all of these pieces that help you get to where you are now, being the number one team. Uh, Jalen has to, J Dub has to show up, right? That's one of those. Is like he's a key factor to them winning as well.
Hmm.
Yeah. So basically, they just have to keep doing what they do and what brought them here, and not allow themselves to get flustered and start doing too much. So I mean, do I feel like, yeah, do they feel some pressure? Absolutely, but I think they're more of the pressures they're putting on themselves rather than it coming from the outside. So I expect them to come in disciplined and really try to, yeah, take this game three, and really send a message with winning it and winning it decisively.
It's funny you say that. I noticed the first two games, like sometimes these teams have and more so OKC. I feel like OKC has set the tempo in both games. Sometimes they just be playing too fast and just need to slow down. Sometimes, like just relax real quick. And
Hmm.
you saw that in both games, right? Game one, because it's the game one of the finals. Each team wants to set the tone. OKC was just going a little too fast sometimes. Some turnovers
Hmm.
here, some bad plays.
Hmm.
And then the second game, of course, because they have to show like, oh no, we're here. We're the number one team. We're not going to take this lying down, playing fast again. So I'm interested to see if this continues to be a theme, given the pressure it's your first away game in the finals. They're expected to punch you in the mouth.
Hmm.
Theoretically, are you going to be able to keep your cool and stick to, like Lou said, what you've done? Also, role players tend to not play too good away.
On the road, yeah.
They tend to
Oh,
not play too good away. So I'm interested to see how Chet shows up and how J Dub shows up. Because at the end of the day, although they did lose game one, I don't think it was because of Chet and J Dub's lackluster performance, because they still would
mm,
have won that. You get what I mean? It was a
yeah.
1 point
Yep.
loss. Like
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
OKC is talented enough for them to win it without spectacular performances from those two. But I'm interested to see if they impact the game in other ways.
Hmm.
In other ways.
Yeah.
I think that's the key to this team's success this season. I mean, you talk about after losses, right? I think they're 18-2 after losses this season. They've always shown the ability to regroup after losses, but even in the sometimes inconsistencies of J Dub, everybody collectively has just been better this year.
Yep.
And
PJ
sometimes
Wallace.
I
Jeez.
don't mean to make it sound so simple, but it's like they've got the guy who shows up every night, and then the supporting cast as a whole has just elevated to a level better than they were last year. So even when J Dub doesn't have the performance, even when Chet's impact is more well rounded and not as much offensively dominant, there's always somebody that steps up that adds that little bit more that gets them over the top. And so sometimes it's just as simple as, listen, we've got the guy you can't stop, and everybody around him is good enough to support. So
I'll
we'll see
call
how that looks.
I'll call this out right now. If OKC doesn't come with the same intensity on those corner threes like they did in the second half, Indiana's going to pounce on them scoring wise. They were failing to make those rotations. They weren't coming out to the corner threes, and that was what was keeping Indiana in the game for a bit. And then, of course, they made the adjustments, I think, after halftime, and you could see they were running out there. They were getting to it, and it stifled Indiana offensive wise because Halliburton was just playing a little passive, some would say, right? He didn't really get going until the fourth. But I'll say this, if OKC does not get on those corners, I think it's going to give Indiana a little spark offensively that may have a potential to have a avalanche or snowball effect. So I would say if I'm OKC, I take some of that from the previous game and get out there. And also, like you were saying with Lou, with Chet and Hartenstein coming up, Hartenstein's been exposed as being a defensive liability. All right. If you've noticed, they've taken him out towards the end of the game and gone with a smaller lineup because he has trouble rotating to the outer, Turner specifically, because he was hitting the threes, which led to the comeback. So I'm interested to see what
Yeah.
X's and O's OKC comes up with. But those
Yeah.
corner threes, man. Whew.
Yeah. Indiana is a faster team, right? Than the most they've played. And able to play small ball, right? So somebody like Hartenstein, yeah, like you said, good and exposed. I mean, you touching on the corner threes really was going to circle back to what I was saying in general. OKC has to maintain their defensive identity that also brought them here as well, right? So man, getting them block shots, getting them steals, making it difficult for them to be able to just go through these picks. I mean, even run these pick and rolls without somebody really being able to come and fight through them. Man. It's OKC just needs to stick to what they're being great at, and if they can do that, it's tough for anybody. Clearly, it's been tough for anybody in the league to beat them once they're playing at that high level on both sides of the floor.
It's been your team. This has been your call all year, Lou. You're almost there, man. You're almost there.
Hey man, this would make this a successful season, no pun intended.
Well, I'll say this though too. Like we were talking about this game being, well, Ev was saying that this game is the finals. This is going to really cement OKC on whether they're going to win this or if this is going to be a long series, et cetera, et cetera. I think what they went through, they being OKC in the Denver series, is going to prepare them for this game. That was a long fought series.
Come on, man.
They really had to show up and put this veteran team away, this championship team away, and they did that. And I think that going through Denver and the battles that they had to go through is going to prepare them to really kind of get over the hump.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely.
All right, guys. Last thoughts on OKC before we move on. Anything
OKC
that
in
we
5.
need to look out? OKC in 5. My OKC in 3 prediction just went out the window. So thanks a lot, Hali. He just
You mean in 3 more wins?
There you go. Good reframe. That's why you got homies like y'all, man. That's why you got homies like that. Okay,
You know, cuz I got you.
Yeah, man. All right, y'all. Since there's no more, let's see what happens. Let's move on. So, in current news, guys, the NBA Finals is at an all-time low. Well, the lowest it's been since 2007 in terms of viewership, per this article that just came out. And there's been a lot of talking about what the NBA needs to do, what Silver needs to do, what changes. Some have been saying, hey, certain things that used to be done in the past, we're not doing it anymore. The finals trophy on the court, what makes it special? What brings it, what makes this to the viewer, to the layman, the average viewer, the one who's not a fanatic like us, who's going to tune in? What makes them tune into this, right? What draws them in? What kicks it in? But before we get into that side of things, what are you guys thinking is the reason for this drop off on this final since 2007?
Well, I mean, I think the answer, part of it is kind of obvious. I mean, it's the Indiana market and it's the Oklahoma market. We're not talking two big markets.
Mm-hmm.
You coming off a conference finals where you had the Knicks, you had the largest market in there, right? Most of my Knicks fans are still recovering right now. We're trying to figure out who our coach is.
100%.
We're not even watching, right?
No,
So, I
100%.
mean,
I had a Knicks
you
fan
know,
tell me today, I ain't watching. I'm done with basketball.
listen,
Basketball's
right?
over.
Absolutely.
Yo,
Listen,
that is
we
so
are
funny. Yo.
we're on wellness retreats right now.
Listen,
Okay?
You guys are having you having your support meetings during the games?
Absolutely.
Hans was
Absolutely.
that Knicks fan called Evan Butler Sands?
No. That was another guy, man. Another guy
might
from the
have been.
Bronx too, man. Yeah, Bronx cast, man. Yeah, wow.
Oh,
Oh
listen,
man.
we hurt right now. Absolutely. We hurt.
Bing
He
bong.
said it's
All
baseball
right.
season right now. That's what he said.
Hey,
It's baseball
listen,
season.
10-2 while
Oh
we
man.
speak. But the West Coast, I mean, I'm not even gonna take a shot, Christian, but you know, Pop Mom, you get it. Y'all on other things right now. Dodgers are doing well.
Oh,
So I mean, this
oh
is
man.
this is honestly a basketball purist finals. And I'm
It
here
is,
to say that I'm perfectly okay with that. I mean, all right. Lowest, I just want to run through it real quick. Lowest finals since 2007. Well, what are we saying here? I pulled it up. Let's check. So in 2007, you had the San Antonio Spurs in Cleveland.
Cleveland.
Yeah, it was LeBron, but I mean, it
LeBron's
was
first time.
the Spurs, one of the most boring dynasties in NBA history.
Two small markets still.
Exactly, versus an overmatched
Disrespectful.
Cleveland team. Now let's go through there, okay? After that, you had Lakers, LA market, Lakers, LA market, Lakers and Celtics. What did you expect? The Heatles, Miami versus Dallas. What did you expect? Miami. What did you expect? Miami and San Antonio again. What did you expect? You had 5 years of Cleveland and Golden State, two tremendous stories, right? Miami and the Lakers. I mean, COVID. What else did we have to watch, right? And then, all right, Giannis and Phoenix, still a little COVID residue. What else were we watching? Boston again, Miami, Boston. Tell me when I've named a non-marquee market in between 2007 and now. This is the first time that we've had a non-traditional storyline. And what's that? 17 years? What's the math on that? Public math. Don't get me right. But
I would consider the Suns and the
Yes.
Bucks as the small market
That was
teams
a
that
small
were in the
market.
finals.
well, it was, but I mean, you again. That's still a little of that post-COVID run, right? We're coming out of COVID. We're still at the point where we're not fully all the way outside, and I mean, so I think the thirst for viewership was there. That was the first full season that we had because COVID shortened. It's coming off the bubble, the championship we don't talk about. So
I just think I think Devin Booker and Giannis were more marketable than SGA and Tyrese Halliburton.
well, and
I
that
agree.
and
There's
that
more
may
star
be
power. There was more
that
star
may be fair, but that is, well, one, how do you gain star power? One of these two stars are going to walk away NBA champions. That's how you gain star power.
Mhm.
And two, it's on. I know Pop Mama wants to get on this. It's on the NBA to market these stars that are in this position right now. You got SGA. You're talking about, I mean, let's call it the best guard since Kobe.
Mm.
Right? You've got
You're not wrong.
Tyrese Halliburton, one of the biggest antagonists of the decade.
You're not wrong
There's
again.
marketability that exists in this package. Don't
Mm.
just let two small markets let the marketing team off the hook from doing their job.
Mm. That's true.
There's tremendous, fruit on this vine to tap into to inject life into the current, these rising stars that are going to carry your mantra here for the next 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. Just in the world of social, I just don't think that the NBA has made a presence in the world of social. I think most of what we see in NBA in the world of social is, I mean, if it's not rumors for trades or um, off-season type of moves, they're really on there because of betting. That's the most you're going to see about the NBA is sports betting, and I think sports betting has kind of overshadowed what it is. For the viewership, but just for the sake of the sport itself. But yeah, the NBA hasn't necessarily done a thing to really put a presence of themselves in the world of social, and I think
Lou,
that is also something that
are
helps.
you saying
That-
without off-season drama that the NBA has nothing anymore? Are they now the Real Housewives of the NBA?
I mean, of the sports, yeah, they've been that for a
Um,
long time now.
I
I'll
think,
say this.
yeah,
I disagree, and I think it's the NBA lost touch. As woke as the NBA is, and woke in a positive manner, in a sense, in a sense of how in touch the NBA has been with social issues. They're also out of touch with their viewers and their market. This is going to sound hyperbolic, but in my opinion, the NBA started to make a wrong turn when they got mad at Allen Iverson for what he was wearing, when they started to button down on that, and they didn't want to connect with the roots and their niche audience
Mhm.
in fear, right? Of basically looking like they may be too something, too urban, too, you get what I'm saying?
Uh, okay.
They and then they went totally the other way, right? And then they said, "Oh shoot, we need to kind of pivot," right? In that bounce back, they're missing the mark, right? They're missing what the draw was for us, what we got excited about, right? Think about what we're talking about. This is also what gets to me, and I'm gonna be on my soapbox, and it's only gonna be for 30 more seconds. This is what bothers the hell about me about the NBA. They have these people in these positions, especially in marketing, and I know Lou, you're in this world, and they just seem so out of touch. Like one of the things that people are talking about with this NBC move is what the theme music,
Yeah.
because it harkens to a time, right?
Yeah.
When we would race to our TVs, and
Yeah.
you get what I'm saying? This is, and for the life of me, why is the NBA not tapping into that? Why is that what we're excited about? Right? Like, so what is it about that era? What is happening? Now, there are some other things that's been happening, in my opinion, which I feel like um the NBA may not be too much as fault for, which is like there's more player movement, right? Players are more emboldened and empowering, and there's this teaming up. So you're not having players stay as long as they used to be with these small market teams to grow a cult following. You get what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Mhm.
Like it used to be. So it could be similar to college, right? To where you have these cult followings. So I do blame that. But I blame the NBA, just like Evan is, in the sense of not only marketing, but failing to tap into that. Whenever they turn their back on, I say us, the culture, the people, that to me is when they start to go down in ratings. Like they forgot to tap in. They forgot to tap in, and now they're tapping in everywhere. just
Nah,
failing, right? Like
I
you
mean,
have
yeah.
these brand partnerships on the court that not everybody identifies with, like Skims. What? Like you get what I'm saying? Like not everybody
You don't
identifies
own a
with
pair of
that. Like
Skims on Skims for men.
I'm just saying, bro. Like it's clearly a money grab.
He,
Like you
he
see what they're
records them.
doing. They're going with the Kardashian, like that. But that's not people who love the Kardashians are not the ones who are watching the
The
NBA.
Kardashians are the NBA. If you have
Well,
been
they like
paying
bagging
Oh
attention
NBA
man.
this
players.
past,
Oh man. Here we go. Well, what I will say is this: in terms of the one thing that
nothing speaks NBA athlete like.
Like Kardashian.
My bad. Keep going. Keep going.
oh man, I thought you was gonna run off the list too.
Oh, you talk about Lamar, Booker, Griffin,
I
Humphreys,
didn't. I didn't. I
Humphreys.
didn't Google. I didn't
you know.
Google their NBA championship since
Oh,
2007. Sorry. Sorry.
am I
Yo,
missing
I will
somebody?
say
Who
this,
am I
man.
missing?
The Kardashians, if it was like All Star Weekend and you wore your accolades on your jacket,
Listen, man.
they'd
Some
have a lot more than
how many
some of
stars
these
do they
basketball
have?
players.
No, they got Thanos. They got the rings. They got the
So,
NBA.
Yeah,
so
but
you made me think of a point that I'm not married to, but I do. I feel this way at the moment. When you came up in the '90s, right?
Mhm.
That's when I think all of us fell in love with the NBA, and it's I think what we would call the peak of the popularity of the NBA. We were kids. We grew up into teenagers. We grew up into adults. I think what the NBA has tried to do is continue to try to tap into the age group where we got hooked rather than grow the NBA's appeal
Mhm.
with the age group that fell in love with it at its peak popularity. Like I understand it has 20 something year old players, right? But maybe it should appeal to a grown man, grown person fan base versus trying to appeal as much to a young person's fan base at this time because for two reasons. One, the younger person, I'm about to sound real old right now, but the younger person at this time, their attention span is much more fickle and fleeting than
All right.
it was when we were at that age. I'm pretty sure we're still the majority of the viewership that actually watches whole games versus catches it on Instagram, catches it on TikTok, right? Catches highlights here and there and consumes the game solely through that, right?
Mhm.
We're the fan base that still, I mean, can afford to even go to games nowadays, right? So I feel like the marketing package of the NBA overall should be much more mature and much more grown to tap into that fan base that has grown up with the NBA since the 90s versus where they tend to target. That's just my take.
Yeah, and like they'll give you flashes sometimes of remembering about us, like the throwback jerseys.
yeah,
Like they'll tap into some of that, and then it's like sometimes, like Christian said off air, sometimes we feel like they're just selling out. Sometimes we feel like they're selling out. I just wish they would tap in more to the cult following that we remember having. You guys remember how it was growing up, man. You repped your team and you repped it hard.
yeah.
Because could nobody tell you nothing. You repped your team and you repped it hard. So
I'm I'm curious, and you guys can tell me about this, right? Because I remember video games also played a role into this as well, right? Whether it was NBA Live
100%.
or 2K,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Those also played a role into like even if you weren't watching the games, you were still tapped into the NBA and so on, and being able to like, oh, I want, you just wanted to play. And Evan, I understand where you're going with it in terms of tapping back into that group of people that really fell in love to the NBA at its peak. But I think what needs to be done is to I think the key to success in that is because it was done in an authentic way, right? Very organic, very authentic about how we fell in love to it. Everything about it didn't feel like it's like what Hans is saying is selling out. Now, the way that they're doing it now, if they were to market it in the same way, if they were to be ingrained in culture in the same way, there's nothing wrong with using the TikTok and Instagram. But if it felt like something that you had a that you were drawn into, that's native to how culture is now, then I do think what happens is you're supposed to continue to grow that, right? Because you want these next group of teenagers to be the ones that are going to pay for tickets to go to games and so on, as they move forward, or be the ones to say, hey, can I get my parents to buy me a ticket? And it looks like some of the guys, the younger guys, if it's not for trades, they're looking to stay a little bit longer with their teams. So maybe we'll see the pendulum shift where you won't see as many guys trying to team up. You see guys like Ant who wants to be on run it in Minnesota. You have Wemby who wants to lay a stake in San Antonio. And look, Halliburton ain't going nowhere now, man. He you know what I'm saying? Like he's locked in. So and
Oh,
we've seen what they've done with OKC and most of these teams now with this new age group of guys, these teams have organically kind of been built the way they rather than it's been them making the moves on their own. It's been more of the front office uh,
it's because
and the
LeBron's
GMs
leaving.
working on that. So you know what I mean? I don't know if the hey look NBA, if you want to highlight your boy, man, I'll come in there and get y'all right, man. Put me in the game, coach. Get y'all
I've got
marketing
it.
team.
I've got it, Lou. You hit the nail on the head and you didn't even realize it. This is the problem with the NBA. You said it. Video games growing up. NBA Live, great video game,
Love it.
great series.
Mhm.
NBA 2K took over early 2000s, became the go-to series. The NBA fell off the cliff when NBA 2K couldn't figure out dynasty mode.
Mm.
Instead of focusing on making a better multi-season general manager dynasty mode, they focused on making the single player
Player mode.
run and spamming VC points to where kids care more about buying clothes to wear on the court
Oh
than the
man.
actual
Oh man.
NBA franchise that they love and building them for continued
There
success.
you go.
The
I mean,
NBA
that's what the
NBA
what's
2K
called
failed the
NFL games, right?
NBA.
Do Madden? They focus on that dynasty mode.
In Madden, you play with your team against other people playing against their favorite team, and NFL ratings have never been higher.
Mm.
NBA 2K, do better.
Facts. Facts. All right, fellas. Last topic, real quick, before we close. Kevin Durant. Let's talk about a trade. Kevin Durant is rumored to be looking past the rising sun. He's tired of the heat, I guess. And the Phoenix Suns have recently doubled down on Devin Booker, so he's not going anywhere. And we also know what the situation is with Beal. He has a no trade clause and et cetera, et cetera. So, where do you think, or if you're Kevin Durant, where are you looking to be at next season?
Should be looking for a retirement home.
Wow. Wow.
Nah,
Wow.
but it just warms my heart to know that the Suns will continue to be trash. But if I don't know, if
No
you
pun
KD, I
intended.
don't know.
Warms your heart. Okay.
Warms my heart.
I
Warms
see
my
what you
heart.
did there. So two things about the Suns. Like Pop Mama said, similar to the Lakers situation, they're both being held hostage by no trade clauses. Both of those teams won't get better until those no trade clause players are gone. That's my assessment right there. I think as far as KD is concerned, I think he should be looking for a team where he is a fit that doesn't have to carry much of the load. I think
Mhm.
carrying a lot, like most of the
Mm.
load, those are
Yeah.
over. Like those years are over. He's
Yeah.
older, you know. He can't do that anymore, and I don't think it's because if I'm not mistaken, since he's been back from that Achilles, he's been injured like significantly every season, right? Except for
Yep.
that one in Brooklyn, that one year where he had his toe on the line. I think he
Oh
was
yeah. Yeah.
quasi healthy that season,
Yeah.
though. I think
Yeah.
maybe
Yep.
quasi. But
He's relatively healthy this year
That's what I'm saying.
compared to the last few years.
yeah,
Mhm.
he still has a tendency to get nicked up though here and there, right? So I would say he needs to be with a team where he doesn't have to carry all the load. I'm sorry, I know Lou may not like this, but I
Don't
like
do it.
Houston.
Yeah. See,
I
I was
like
gonna say
Houston.
something. I was gonna you said something and I was like, I'm gonna go off this because I've been thinking about this. You said he'd be nicked up. I think you said the right thing. I think you said the right thing.
The Knicks.
I think
So let me
Katie for Cat. Who says no?
time
okay.
out. Time
Katie for
out.
Cat. Who says no?
Time out.
2 7-footers. Who says no, man?
We're not
Oh man.
allowed to say such things. What I will say is that there is positional overlap in Phoenix that could get resolved by moving out one of their wings for a big man. There is a space with a big man that if they swapped for Kevin Durant, he would not have to carry the load in a way that Lou spelled out. And there is a city that Kevin Durant has mentioned that he made a mistake by not playing for one of the teams in that city when he had a chance to and playing for another team in that city. That is all I will say. We're not talking about the Knicks. We're just talking about basketball teams.
Where do you have
in
a tampering
general.
clause here? You don't work for any of these.
Here's Shams.
I
Okay.
love Carl Anthony Towns. He did great things for the city. We're very happy to
He has
have
to be on
him.
record. He has to be you
And
gotta be on record
I
after them
respect
blockbuster
everything
trade last year.
he
Or this
did
year rather.
for us. We won that trade.
Wow.
No further
Evan's a
comment.
company man. Breaking news here on the 3 on 3 podcast. Evan is not employed by the Knicks, so he doesn't want to get a tampering charge put on him. Which is why he's speaking in such NBA coded fashion.
Oh man. In generic terms, if you will.
Right. I like
Saying,
KD to the Knicks. I think it'd be great to see him back on the East Coast. I think he did well in Brooklyn. I don't think he handles scrutiny well. I think he's a little sensitive at times, but on
At
the court,
times.
he shows up though. He shows up on the court. I think
Mhm.
it'd be very great for the Garden and the Knicks to have somebody of Katie's caliber there. Yeah, get Cat out, put Katie in. I like what I'm seeing, man. I like what I'm seeing. I like what I'm hearing. But I like him better in Houston, man. I like him better in Houston. I think him
You
and
just
Ime
want
would
to
get along
ruin them.
great.
You just want to ruin them.
I just
Just
want to
want
ruin. I think him
a
and Ime
young
would get along
team that
great.
has potential. You want to stifle their growth immediately.
I'm just saying, man, they needed him. Think about what happened.
They
They
need a lot.
lost to the Golden State Warriors. They faded the black. Green faded the black. Sangoon was neutralized. They need a guy, man. They need a guy.
If KD was serious about wanting to win another championship, he wouldn't stay in the West. He'd go to that weak ass other conference.
Wow, that's so crazy.
Wow.
But just to his point about winning, if he's looking to win now, then you look at a team more like the Knicks, because even if he goes to Houston, they still need a couple more pieces. They're not there yet. They're still pretty green. But a team like New York, of that caliber,
KD to the Bucks, man. What we talking about? What we talking about, man? KD and Giannis, man. What we talking about, man?
I just love that the Pod Mama comes consistently with the LA energy to just shoot at an entire coast, like an entire side of the country. He just doesn't care.
Yeah, very, very LA fashion. Very drive-by
You know?
shootish. Very LA fashion.
wow.
Just saying, man. Just very on brand.
Very, very Southern California tendencies.
Yeah. Very on brand. Just shoot and leave. Don't even care about what happened, what you hit, who you hit. Just keep it moving. I tell you, boy. But nevertheless, I don't know. I'm intrigued by that Nick. I like it. I like Cat going to Phoenix and
Booting into Phoenix. Yeah, that would be
man,
so
get
terrible.
Cat out of here, man.
I'd be
Well,
feel bad.
what did Will Smith say? Keep my team's name out. Oh. Something like that.
What do you mean?
Something like
You
that.
won't even say your team's name.
All right, guys.
It's still in the morning. Okay? Leave us alone.
Yeah. Hey, let him have his wellness retreat. With that being said, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. As always, please check us out on our socials. Hit us up on YouTube. Watch our videos and our lovely faces. We appreciate you guys for listening and watching. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.
What's up, guys, and thanks for listening. I want you to do 2 things for me right now. 1, give this episode a thumbs up, and 2, be sure to subscribe to our channel. You can also follow us on all the socials at the 3on3 Podcast and send us an email at the 3on3podcast@gmail.com. We appreciate you, and tune in next week.